Hello, everybody. I hope you all had a nice Christmas. This Substack is for the Sunday after Christmas, December 28th. We'll call it When to Obey and When to Think. In these gospel passages this weekend, we're going to hear of a good example of unthinking obedience, but also one of a very thoughtful prudence. And both are exhibited by Joseph, the husband of Mary and legal father of Jesus. So we're going to read this passage from Matthew 2, and I will try to vocally underline the imperative verbs. Rise, take the child and his mother, flee to Egypt, and stay there until I tell you. And then notice what Joseph does in response. Joseph rose and took the child and his mother by night and departed for Egypt. He stayed there until the death of Herod. So Joseph is instructed to rise, take, flee, and stay. And he immediately rose, took, departed, and stayed. So from this, the scholars draw the conclusion that Matthew, the evangelist, is touting the virtues of strict obedience. Joseph literally does what he is told. But does he always? Keep reading. Just 4 verses later, we read this. When Herod had died, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt and said, Rise, take the child and his mother, and go to the land of Israel, for those who sought the child's life are dead. He rose, took the child and his mother, and went to the land of Israel. So far, we see the same pattern, right? Rise, take, go, stay. But read on. When Joseph heard that Archelaus was ruling over Judea in place of his father Herod, he was afraid to go back there. And because he had been warned in a dream, he departed for the region of Galilee. He went and dwelt in a town called Nazareth. So Joseph doesn't just blindly return to Bethlehem, which is in Judea. He pays attention to the political situation in the land of Israel at large, and he is wisely afraid to go back to Bethlehem. We'll see why in just a moment. And he keeps walking past Judea all the way to Galilee, where he settles. Now, I know Matthew says that an angel, again, told Joseph to go to Galilee, but this time that little passage rings false. My sense is that Joseph went to Galilee for the reason Matthew states first. He was, rightly, afraid of the Herods in Judea. Now, why he settled in Galilee, which was the territory of yet another of Herod's sons, is a bit of a mystery, but that's a separate substack. So, what's the suggested lesson here? In an emergency, Joseph just got up and ran as he was told. And that's exactly what we are taught to do when the fire alarm goes off or the earthquake alarm goes off. Just move. Fine. But once the emergency has passed, it's okay, even mandatory, to look at the situation and interpret what's best under the circumstances, the virtue of prudence. It worked for Joseph, and that means it also worked for Jesus and Mary. Separate side note. In the middle of the gospel passage today from Matthew 2, the church inexplicably omits verses 16 through 18 from the lectionary, which report the fact that Herod murdered all the infant boys under 2 years old in Bethlehem. Now, I'm going to say this again. I'm going to rant about this. The church does us no favors by trying to water down the gospel, and this is a particularly egregious example because this Sunday, December 28th, is normally the Feast of the Holy Innocents. Now, that feast gets liturgically superseded by the greater feast of the Holy Family this year, but that's not a reason not to just read all of Matthew 2, the flight to Egypt, the mass murder of the innocents, and the forced relocation to Galilee in full. So bring your Bibles with you to church on Sunday, surprise everybody, and read the whole thing. Have a good week. Happy New Year.